Hi, everyone. I am Freddie. I am one of the co-founders of Wild Places, and I am here with Millie Young. Welcome, Millie.
Thanks, Freddie. Really great to be here.
First of all, watching that movie, in hindsight, what is the first thing that comes to your mind after seeing that film again?
Take me back there.
It's
No, seriously, like so many fond memories of that run, and just like the recce trips that I did before, just out there on my own from the bottom of Tassie. Yeah, just such a beautiful spot. Loved every minute of it.
It is, I mean, and the film itself is absolutely incredible. I think the only thing that I wish is that it was an hour or two longer, because I feel like it's just like, it's so stunning, and it's sitting here watching it from afar. And I don't know, did you realize how remote that section of the world is?
Yeah, I did, because before I decided to do the run, I'd actually been out and hiked the South Coast track. Just when would it have been? Like just before COVID, so January 2020. And yes, did fully realize the remoteness of the track out there, which was actually one of the reasons why I chose to do the run.
That's so cool, because that, watching the film, I was thinking like it just answers so many questions. The one thing that I felt that it didn't answer was, why did you decide to do this? And also, what made you choose the Port Davey and South Coast track?
Yeah, so the why, I guess. So as I think is depicted in the film, I really only started running during lockdown in 2020. Prior to that, my whole sort of outdoor recreation was entirely focused on climbing. And then during lockdowns, it was just, difficult to go climbing, didn't have a partner, was in rural WA. So I started running and really caught the running bug. And then I ran my first ultra and was like, this is awesome. I wonder if I can run 100 miles. So the why, I guess, is sort of like testing myself. Can I actually, like, is it possible? But also I wanted to do it somewhere that wasn't a race, that was just, my own kind of self-powered adventure. And that kind of took me looking for somewhere pretty remote. I wanted it to be kind of a challenge where I was entirely self-sufficient. And yeah, the South Coast of Tassie Tassie itself is a super special place. I'm half Tasmanian. And yeah, the South Coast of Tassie, as I said, I walked the South Coast track early 2020, and had, at the time, even before, I wasn't a runner then, but I was like, oh, this would be a really nice track to run, or nice, maybe a challenging track to run. But that area of the world is just, it's super kind of special. I think the remoteness and the harshness of the landscape, that has this kind of really dark, indescribable beauty to it. And the tracks themselves, the Port Davey and the South Coast, have really rich cultural and environmental history. I think the South Coast track was once used as a trading route for the Aboriginals that used to live around the Melaleuca area. And I think, yeah, both tracks were just used by whalers, miners, other settlers throughout the years. So I was just really intrigued by the area and the history of the place. Obviously, Lake Pedder was sort of the start of the Greens movement in Australia. So yeah, lots of cool ties and a really beautiful story around that place, which is why. And the tracks totaled to 100 miles. So that was kind of just like the perfect package.
I feel like I first met you at the Taikaina Trail in Tasmania last year, and I had no idea that that was your first ultra, because you absolutely flew past me on that trail, and I thought that you must have been running for 100 years, even though you're not that old by any means. You obviously must have spent a lot of time moving in your life. You work as a guide, I think, right, as well?
Yes, so that was actually, the Taikaina was my second ultra. My first ultra was in WA, ultra called the Feral Pig, I think November 2020. I do work as a guide. So I was working as a guide over last summer when met you, when we met at Henttonen. And I also do work a desk job. I work in clean energy and climate tech innovation, supporting startups in kind of early stages of getting their companies off the ground, anything under the broader remit of combating climate change. We kind of help startups get funding and kind of get their businesses started. But yes, bit of time working as a guide as well. So I suppose as well, like a bit of a background of climbing, always kind of long approaches, getting there with heavy packs. I suppose that helps with running.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like that you just have such a natural way of just moving on the trails. Like you literally fly, and I was blown away by your sort of like skill and ability. So when you decided, when you told me then that you had decided to hopefully tackle this 100-mile challenge, I was like, wow, that's just seemed like such a natural sort of progression from where you were. And I was curious, I mean, that was very muddy, but do you feel like that you would do a 100-miler again?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. It was muddy. It was also very long. I don't think as in like the time it took me 44 and a half hours. I think when I was kind of planning it, I was aiming to between sort of 30 and 36 hours. But yeah, a few things went wrong as they do. And like a lot of the terrain, I think I underestimated how slow it would be. Yeah, a couple of instances where I had to swim across inlets and like I broke my toe. So yeah, there was a few things in the mix that meant that I was out there for 44 and a half hours, which is kind of wild.
I mean, the fact that you broke your toe is sort of like a story in and of itself. Is this normal conditions for the South Coast track and the Port David track, that it is that muddy, or do you think that you could come back and kind of like possibly beat your own muddiest known time?
I definitely think there's a lot of scope for doing it a fair bit faster, for sure. But you know, really, it was just about getting out there and having a crack and enjoying myself. But yeah, I think we had the week that I did it. Actually, the weekend that we were both at Takina would have been the perfect weekend because it had been quite dry for a few days, and that was like really great conditions. And then I think it was a couple of weeks of rain. And I got kind of I had 2 weeks off work where I was like, all right, sometime in this 2 weeks, I'm going to have 2 days where we've got a decent window. The 2 days that I chose was the only good weather for that whole 2 weeks. So I think it was, yeah, raining a fair bit beforehand. And then the tail end of a front caught us as we were finishing. So we just kind of snuck in with like a day and a half of somewhat decent weather. 70 km/h winds were kind of wild, but yeah, didn't get too much rain, which was good. But I think notoriously those two tracks are reasonably muddy. I mean, that part of the world rains, I don't know, I can't remember off the top of my head what the stats are, but it's a lot of days out of the year that it rains out there. The Port Davey track actually is notoriously muddy and just difficult to wayfind. I mean, not too many people hike it, so it's I definitely got lost a couple of times, that's for sure.
Did you see many other people along the track?
On the Port Davey, no one.
Wow.
And then the South Coast, we saw 2 hikers, and that's all. Yeah.
And they were the ones.
It was a long weekend.
Yeah,
exactly. They had the spare dry bag for the swim. It was a long weekend, Easter weekend. So I think during the night, as we got closer to Cockle Creek, people had sort of hiked out for the Easter week. And I think there were a lot of people in tents, but we didn't actually see anyone because we were passing through at kind of 10 p.m. at night or so.
I think that everyone who watches this movie has 2 questions that they are dying to know. Question number 1 is, how the hell do you run 40K with a broken toe? And question number 2 is, how does your stomach feel after eating 70 gels?
I didn't actually eat 70 gels. There's 70 gels for 2 people, by the way.
Oh, okay, yeah, right.
Interestingly, I managed to handle gels and I wasn't just eating gels. I had sandwiches, potatoes, other things. And at Melaleuca, Tom had some food there for me, some solid food. But I think after about a day and a half, the gels, that was it. I couldn't eat any more gels. So yeah, definitely wasn't fueling that well on the second day. Few jelly beans got us through. But now I find it hard to stomach gels, actually. I think I had my life share of gels on that run. And the broken toe, yeah, well, it hurt a lot when I did it, but I wasn't quite, I didn't know obviously then that it was broken. I kind of, we're running, or wouldn't really say running, kind of walking across a rocky beach, smashed my toe into a rock, like tripped over, was lying on the ground like, oh, definitely done something here. But I suppose the only options were continue to walk out, continue to attempt to run out, or kind of sit and wait to get rescued in some way. So yeah, I tried a bit of a combination of the walk run. So the last 40 k's was pretty slow and pretty painful. But I guess, most things you're in a lot of pain in general then. So a broken toe into the mix, it didn't seem too bad. And then obviously when I finished, a couple of days later, I went and actually got an x-ray and figured out that it was broken.
Yeah, wow.
And but it's good now.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what was your recovery like?
For a while, with the broken toe. Like I recovered pretty well otherwise, but had the toe in a boot for a little bit and then wasn't running for a couple of months. And it's still, I think I tried to put it in a small climbing shoe too quickly, and it took a while to get better. I was impatient.
But from following you on social media, I know that you're now back running at full capacity again, and you had another adventure in Western Australia just recently where you attempted another FKT. Yeah. How was that?
Yeah, it was awesome. I went out and did an FKT on the Stirling Ranges Ridge Walk. There's a loop that Bernadette Benson at WA ultrarunner put up. I don't know quite how long ago, but it's an awesome track. I first did the Stirling Ranges Ridge Walk when I was in grade 10 at school camp, and I'm pretty sure it's very steep and pretty muddy actually itself. And I think all of us cried on that trip. So it was nice to go back there and have a crack. It took us 5 days as well. So it was nice to go back there and take some time off the 5-day ridge walk from year 10. But yeah, it's an awesome track. It's sort of Stirling Range kind of pops out. It's really unique in the sense that it pops out of really flat farmland, not too far from where I grew up and I am at the moment in Kojonup in WA. And it's one of the biodiversity hotspots of the world. It's the highest point in southwest WA, so it gets a lot of the weather, and it can be sort of 30 degrees down the bottom, and this has happened before, and it will be freezing on top, sometimes even snowing in the summertime. It's a beautiful part of the world and just super unique. Like I think 1,500 species of flora, not too much wildlife there at the moment because they had some fires a couple of years ago, but stunning. Highly recommend.
Wow. No, the photos looked absolutely incredible. I'd never heard about this place before, but then again, I'm not from that neck of the woods, but it looked absolutely beautiful, and I would love to go. And you are currently in WA now.
I am, just on a bit of a holiday.
Yeah, nice.
I'm very lucky for. Well, a lot of people are in lockdown. I'm very grateful to be able to be over here.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you planning any more adventures over there?
A couple of climbing adventures, hoping in that same range, hoping to climb Bluff Knoll, which is kind of the highest point, which I've done a couple of times, drive my dad up there. So yeah, hoping to get out and do that again. But aside from that, no too many adventures, just enjoying the warmer weather over in WA as a nice respite from the end of the Tassie winter.
I can imagine it. But spring is on the way in Tassie, and you'll be back in Tassie again later on this year?
Yeah, very soon, in a couple of weeks' time.
Any dream adventures you have on the radar down there?
There's been chat with a couple of people about doing the Penguin to Cradle Trail. I think it's about 90 k's from Penguin in the northwest Cradle Mountains, so that'd be pretty awesome. Would love to do a bit of a loop of the Duquesne Range, which is kind of off trail. Really, I mean, I actually haven't been out there. I've guided on the overland and around Cradle, but never actually down the Duquesne Range. That'd be, I reckon, a really cool run. Oh, there's just so many endless adventures in Tassie. I'd love to go out to the Tyndall Range and go get climbing out there, which is something somewhere I haven't been climbing in Tassie. That's certainly something on the summer radar. Yeah. And hopefully see you down there, Freddie.
Yes, be down back again in February for a month. We'll definitely come see you then, and hopefully get on some fun trails down there. There was one little spot that you did a little warm-up run on, I think in the film. I was like, oh, where is that? You sort of like ran up on an open sort of ridge line that looked.
Oh, that's the top of Konani.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, or maybe that was Mount Murchison. There was bits of both.
That was a beautiful trail too, Murchison. That's a good one. Question is, I feel like that you are someone who is a very outdoorsy person. You also have great love and care for our environment, and you spend your career in that field as well. And I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on how runners and outdoors people in general can best help advocate for our climate at the moment? Because I feel like in today's current political climate, it sometimes feels a little bit hopeless, and then you see things like meet people like you who do things that feel really inspiring and gives us all a sense of hope. Do you have any thoughts on how we can sort of best use our passion for climate good?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, organizations like Four Wild Places are a great example of that. Entering ultras like Takina and the Pilliga Ultra, raising money to support grassroots organizations that are helping, volunteering where possible, or trying to align, it's possible for you, align your career with what you believe in, causes that you believe in, and just generally embodying what you believe in, and what you're passionate about in everyday life, spreading the word, just bringing it up in conversations with friends, family members, and just making, just growing general awareness, because, we all know that the anecdote that a pebble in the ocean creates, large ripples. So, yeah, just bringing it, embodying that and bringing it into your life in any way that you can.
I think that sounds absolutely amazing, and thank you for doing that, and thank you so much for taking the time for Wild Places, and for being with us here today, and for letting us screen your film. And we hope to see many more of them in the future. It's been fantastic hanging out with you.
Ditto. Thanks so much for having me, Freddie. And I, as you know, I love what Four Wild Places is about and what you're all doing, and I think it's an amazing cause to get behind. So any runners watching this, sign up for the Pilliga Ultra. Absolutely. Sign up for Takina.
Yes, come on out. And if you want to give Millie a shout out. You are online on, what are you, Mountain Millie these days?
Yes, on
Yes.
my Instagram.
That's right.
Would be the best. I have Facebook, but I don't use Facebook really.
Good for you. All right, amazing. Good catching up with you. We'll see you in February at Takaina, and then at the
I can't wait.
whenever we can make the Pilliga happen.
Yes. Thanks, Freddie.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Millie.